sell-offs in some large cap stocks dragged the NGX All Share index lower at the close of trading on Wednesday. And I have with me Peter Elege, the CEO of PFI Capital. He joins me as we discuss what's driving sentiments in the markets today. Thank you so much for your time today, Peter. And let's first look at the sentiments. And do you think that investors will remain bullish on equities going into the third quarter?
Oh, yeah. So what's been going on basically from beginning of the week till Wednesday was a period of profit taking for a number of investors. The market was actually in overbought territory for a couple of weeks, and a number of investors are basically cashing in on their profits. Today we saw a turnaround. We noticed that a number of investors were coming into the market, to take at the low prices at which it offers. Going on to the end of the quarter, we expect that performances of stocks will still, do very well. We think that prices of stocks will still rally, but it's all dependent on what we're going to see in the coming week from the CBN, from the MPC meeting in this.
Yeah, but Peter, what would you make of the performance of the second quarter so far? Just at the end of the first quarter, we saw the market was up just about 10%, and now we're seeing it doing over 23%. Your take on the performance of the second quarter?
Sorry, what's your question? I didn't get that.
Yes, sir. What's your take on the performance of the markets in the second quarter so far?
Oh, yes. So the performance has been very good. What I would say is that a lot of drivers have been this performance to what it is. It's actually in contrast with what's happening in the global markets. What's happening in the global market basically is in contrast with what's happening here. And that's as a result of, the monetary policies of the CBN and the FX market. So our market has basically been insulated from the volatility of the external markets, because of the liquidity of FX market. So locally, a number of stocks have done very well. Performances have been very good, particularly in the industrial space, in the consumer goods space, and in the oil and gas space. What's been happening in Seplat, basically these prices have been skyrocketing. It dropped today though, but it's been skyrocketing because of what's happening in the oil and gas sector. Energy prices have been going up, and that's good for that space.
All right, now let's get to more company news. Like you rightly mentioned, Seplat Energy there. And I'd like you to speak on what we saw just play out there, the introduction of the newly appointed independent non-executive chairman there, Basil Omeyi.
Yeah, so I think it's a right step in the right direction. Basil Omeyi has been in the industry for over 40 years. He's also an independent director. He's been in Seplat for over 13 years. So he knows the industry. I don't believe there will be any gap, significant gap, from the previous chairman leaving.
All right, but still on the company, though, we saw that other news I read earlier play out about the government of Nigeria declining consent to their plans to acquire the assets of MOBIL.
Yes, as you can see, what has happened is the prices of Seplat have basically started tanking as a result of that news. We think that it's not a very positive development for Seplat, but Seplat is a resistant. It's going to be, it's strong enough in terms of the top line is good. Oil prices is in its favor. So despite the fact that this kind of negative news came in, we don't expect that to affect their performance significantly.
All right, well, other news still in the markets, though. Airtel Africa here talking about starting the operations of their Smart Cash payment service bank today.
Yes, so it's in line with the drive of the CBN for financial inclusion, which is a good one. We know that MTN too has also gotten their license. We know that Nine Mobile has also gotten their license. So Airtel is now amongst the Airtel company, mobile companies that have gotten their license. So it's the right step in the right direction. It will increase definitely the bottom line of Airtel with respect to fee income and of course increase financial inclusion in the economy.
But when you look at the markets, though, and some of the key drivers or risks, when you look at what's playing out, inflation is one topic that's kept on creeping up here across markets globally. In Nigeria, Nigeria's not been left out there. We saw that spike in the month of April there. And I'd like you to get a sense from you what you make of what we saw play out in the figures there and how you think the market is interpreting this, especially for players like in the consumer goods and industrial goods space.
Yeah, so inflation is now a global problem because of what's basically the stimulus that a lot of other governments have basically done to cushion the impact of the COVID-19. So there's a lot of monies in circulation, and now what a number of monetary policy authorities are doing is basically they're normalizing monetary policy. As a result, of course, inflation is down. What we're seeing is rise in interest rates across different markets, and it's causing volatility in foreign markets, except the Nigerian market, of course. So what we expect would happen in the consumer goods space is basically, what's happening is they're going to transfer pricing, the cost to the end users because of the market they're basically playing in. And we expect that it will increase earnings for those companies. So the consumer goods space, like the Nigerian breweries, the Guinnesses, and the rest, they are basically going to transfer the cost to the end consumers.